Hey. Okay, so I was recently introduced to this video game by Schizophrenic Gamer, better known as Jubagel, from the community in Summoner's War. When I was actually taking a look at this game, I was getting pretty stressed out with Summoner's War. I think there's a lack of content. I think in general, they really push too hard for trying to get your money without actually giving you anything in return. So I was looking for something else, right? I was like, what can I play that's like Summoner's? Because I like the core part of Summoner's War. And that's when I found Onmyoji. Onmyoji is an awesome game, at least in my opinion. And I've found that it's really taken off for me to the point that I've actually quit Summoner's War altogether. And you might decide to do that as well. And if you do, this guide is for you. I'm making this as a guide, a complete guide, specifically for the Summoner's War player coming to Onmyoji. Now, if you are not a Summoner's War player, maybe you won't get as much out of this, but there is still enough information that I think you can do as well. You can do well in listening to what I have to say here. So, a little bit about who I am. So, I have a fair amount of time that I put into Summoner's War. I actually started playing, I want to say about 3 years. It's like 2.5, 3 years ago now. And at that time, the game had been out for about a year at the time. So I didn't start right at the beginning, but I did start pretty early on. And I actually put way more than my own fair share of money into that game. More than I should have by a long shot. I have a habit of doing that. And I did pretty well. I got some interesting things. You know, I got Leica, I got Sierra, I got a Rakan. One of my big problems that I had with the game, though, is getting a Nat 5 was just absolutely insane. And for as much money as I put in, and I'm not going to discuss how much that is, but know that it's probably even more than you're thinking, and it's a disappointing amount. I got about 12 unique Nat 5s and 4 dupes. 4. Which, you know, statistically is very unlikely. Not impossible, but statistically unlikely. And so it was depressing, constantly having to deal with that. And then on top of that, if you didn't have like specific Nat 5s, the game had made it so that Nat 5s were gods and Nat 4s were just the delta between them was insane. And so at that point, I started to kind of get bummed out, and then you had to farm for, you know, most people would say between 8 to 12 hours a day in order to be able to keep up with the progress of runes and how people were doing in the game. I managed to push into Conqueror 1, which I always thought was kind of interesting because people think that Conqueror 1 is nothing. It's pleb status, right? But in a game where there's millions of people playing, that was like top 10,000, which is still a considerable achievement. But okay, fine. It's not the top of the game. I get that. But overall, I just wasn't getting monsters. It was becoming harder and harder to make any sort of progress in the game. I was clearing TOA hard. I did all the elemental rifts to the point where I could actually I fully skilled my homunculus. I was able to do raid 5. You know, I was able to do just about everything I needed to. I mean, I was at the point where I had leftover units at the end of Siege, where you're using 30 of your monsters, and most people run out of stuff, anything that's good to use. And I still have plenty of good options, because I built so much. So I was getting to a point where I was getting pretty tired, and that's when Jubagel did the video on Onmyoji, and that's where we're at now, is me being in love with this game, and wanting to make sure that there's some sort of information out there, because there's so very little that people can use to try to get a leg up on starting in Onmyoji. Okay, so that's where my history is. What is the things that we're actually going to cover, though? I'm actually taking a look at a total of 5 unique aspects of the game that we can compare with Summoner's War so you can get an idea of where this game is. The first thing we'll talk about is various zone equivalents. Second will be Shikigami and Onmyojis, which I'll explain what those are in a little bit. Souls, guilds, and PvP. With those 5 topics covered, you're going to be able to understand everything you need to know about this game in order to thrive and do well. So let's get right into it. So let's start off with the various zone equivalents. First off, the first place you'll want to start to get acquainted with is the Courtyard. The Courtyard is extremely important because this is where you're going to launch everything from the game. This is essentially going to be what the equivalent of the island was, where everything could be started from here. Whenever you have any events that are going on in the game, you'll actually find them over here on this board, as well as all the various menus and things that you might need around the edges. But for the most part, what you're coming over here for is events. And inside the event tab, they'll have everything that you want to do in here. Right now, we have a couple of them going on, and they do kind of a weird thing where it's kind of, before, with Summoner's War, you would have, you know, the extra information just fall all the way down to the bottom, and the main events that were actually happening that you cared about were right up top. Right now, the two big ones are Moonlight and All for One, and technically Susabi is technically there as well, so I get that. Right now, it's not too bad, but when I first started, it was all kind of a mix of stuff. Some stuff that was important was at the top, some stuff that was not, it was at the top. One of the most important ones, the one to get a free Abume, which we'll talk about, you know, the Shikigami that are in the game later, but that was at the bottom. So always make sure that you're kind of scrolling through here and get an idea of what's actually in here. So beyond the events, you'll want to actually take a look at a couple more signs that are over here, one of which is the town. So town is actually pretty important for events or timed occurrences in the game, which can all be found through here. Your co-op duels, hunts, demon encounters, duels, demon parades, all of that stuff can be found over here, as well as the Mystic Trader, who the Mystic Trader is going to be, you know, basic stuff. It's basically, think of it like crafting, the crafting station, where once you get so many scales of a certain type, you can pick up a new soul. Souls are runes, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And then you'll be able to buy things. Totem skins and voice stickers are something that are not really usable at this exact time, because I don't think they've actually opened the soul zone in our, or not soul zone, the totem zone in our particular version of the game yet. But beyond that, we have something called Demon Parade, and this is a little unique to the game, where you have these tickets that you get that allow you to go in and actually see. You can invite a friend. So in this case, we'll invite Saf King, right? So you can invite a friend, and you always should invite a friend, always, because it improves your odds and gives them a chance to get stuff, and it reminds them that you're helping them out. So in return, when they run theirs, they'll pick yours. You take any one of the three monsters as presented. It's random. Personally, I happen to like her more than either of these two. And then you're going to click Start. Now, if any of you are familiar with Temple of Wishes, this is a similar concept where it gives you a chance to get stuff. But, as you can see, it's not exactly you hit and you get it. So, you can slide however many beans you want to throw at a time. You only get so many beans. And you kind of want to know what you're looking at. I'm just kind of throwing it whatever because I'm on the video here. But for instance, this guy's an SSR, this guy's an R, this is a normal monster, which is basically just fodder. And you got to find out which ones are good ones and which ones aren't. And that comes in time, as you know, with anything with like Summoner's War. And so you go through here and you're just trying to click and trying to make sure you want to go a little bit above and in front of them. That's why I found my best luck. So I'm going through here. I'm going to clear these out real quick. And then we'll jump right to the next part here. Okay, so we cleared them out, and then you get these shards. Shards can actually be used to summon any Shikigami in the game. Shikigamis are your monsters. Shikigamis, shards for Shikigamis come in every form, including SSRs, which are Nat 5s. And again, we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but just so you know, any monster in the game can theoretically be summoned through shards, which can be collected in things like Demon Parade and some other sources out there, which we'll cover in a little bit. But the main thing to notice here, this is a great way to get shards. Keep an eye on it. It's always something you want to go back to. Make sure you invite your friends. But you know, you're not gonna, if it's a more rare Shiki, it's gonna be harder to actually hit with those beans than not. And then you have duels. Duels are actually a really, really cool idea in this game. How they do them, I really like. So they're timed. They're at specific points in the day. So this is your RTA for all intents and purposes. So unlike RTA that runs constantly throughout the day and you can only do it so many times, this is unlimited amounts of times in specific time frames. So everyone gets on and everyone is doing it, and there's great rewards. I found it's much more inclusive for lower level gamers than RTA was. RTA was just a smash of just like only the top level players with the best monsters get in. Right now, because it's early and because there's not such a huge delta between the highest ranked monsters, the SSRs, and the Rs, you find a lot of people who don't have the best monsters in the game still doing really well. And from here, you can take a look at, you know, your ranks and what tiers there are in the game. And the nice thing about the tiering system is that the matches actually change. I've not done a lot within 4 and 5 here, and I've not taken a look. But essentially, as it goes on, it changes. So here at tier 1, you're only using 3 Shikis versus 3 Shikis. And then starting at 2, I believe up to 6, possibly 7, it's just standard 5v5. And at tier 8, you are each individually picking 1 at a time. Now, it's not like RTA where you see what one person picks and then the other person picks 2 and they see what those 2 are and then that person picks 2. It's you both blind pick 1 at the same time. It comes out. Then you both blind pick 1 and it comes out. I believe that monsters can be used as repeats. I'm not sure though. I've not paid a ton of attention to that yet, but that's a very interesting thing that they have in the game. Okay, so co-op duels are a similar concept. You can pick a friend, someone in your guild. It can just do it randomly with someone, but that's going to be going towards a contribution towards your guild to try to pump up your guild's score. And there's things that can be done with that. That's worth doing. But essentially, you're going to do a PvP with another person against 2 other people, and that one actually plays out auto. You don't get to micromanage. You select targets to target for, but other than that, you don't get to pick exactly what your units are doing at any given time. Okay, so then there's hunts, and that's going to open up in a little bit here, and then for that, it's going to be with hunts. You're going to essentially, that's your world boss for all intents and purposes, except you do that as a guild as well. And this is something you're going to start coming to see, is that guild is very, very important in this game. You're going to do a lot with each other because of it. And so I'm actually going to cut to me doing a guild hunt or a hunt right now. But that's going to be done at a later time that I'm going to splice into the video here. So we're switching over to that. Okay, so next thing that we have here. This is going to be the fight with the boss hunt that I was talking about. And so when you go in here, you go into boss attack. It's going to show you on a map. There's different grade ones. So they're using, right now, we're fighting a G5, which is the highest run that there is on the map right now. You go in, and you can start the fight. It's going to give room for everyone to join if they want. I like to go in and just invite people. It just is easier that way. I like to invite people around my level, and the people who are like the hard hitters, I leave them alone. They create their own group, and they basically carry us. So I leave it. Let's see here. Everyone is refusing. Whatever. I'll join someone else's team. Doesn't matter. And you can join other people's team by going into your guild chat. It'll show a bunch of people starting them up. So here we go. Water Kieran. Really wish she hadn't done it like that. Okay, fine. So here's the deal, and this is why what she did is going to be kind of a bummer deal. You only have so many uses of a monster, and that is to say you get 1 use of a monster. When you go in and fight something, so once I've used these 3 monsters, these Shikigamis, that's it. I can't use them anymore for my 4 attempts. Which is a bummer, because I only have so many monsters. So, unfortunately, she just screwed me over. But, anyways, this is the boss monster that you guys all fight as a guild. Every one of our people are doing this at the same time. And then once it goes down, we get rewards. Simple enough? Cool. All right. So moving on to the next thing. Okay, we are back. So the next thing that we want to talk about, and the final thing that's kind of super important over here in the courtyard, is this demon encounter. Demon encounter unlocks from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock, and it takes you to a map, and generally speaking, if you're playing on mobile, it'll show you your exact location in a Google Maps style format. And once you're there, it'll take you, you'll click on the demon, the little portal here, and it's going to pop up one of 4 things. It's going to pop up a secret letter, which can give you a quest or a quiz. It can give you a fight against a monster to get shards, a chest give you a chance to purchase with Jade something. Sometimes it's worth it, sometimes it's not. Or a realm raid, which is this version's game of an arena. So let's go ahead and click on this real quick so we can see. So where is the shard of the sword of Kusanagi in the story? Okay, so a little bit of a spoiler. Because the story actually matters in this game. So we're just going to go ahead and skip to the next section, so I don't want to give anything away. Okay, and we're back. So yeah, you can get different questions. Some of them are story related. Some of them are just mechanics related. So this one is, how can you get Starlight Sky frame? It happens to be complete unlucky streak extreme. Which hand did Abraki Doji lose? It's his right hand. Okay. And because of that, I got various things. I want to see what else actually pops up here so we can actually see if there's anything extra. Nope. Okay, we'll skip to the next one. Okay, so here's a treasure chest. And the treasure chest is going to give you something. Now, energy in this game is called AP, and we'll talk a little bit about how that works. But for now, suffice it to say, 50 Jade for 100 AP is pretty well worth it. And then, you know, you make that decision as you get to know the game better and what's worth it and what isn't. And then finally, another secret letter. Okay, and it could have been any number of things like I said, we didn't get a chance to see any shard encounters or realm raids, but those are something else it could have been. Okay, so when you actually complete those 4, you get a bunch of goodies that you can actually take back with you. So it's totally worth doing. Highly suggest every single day you should absolutely do it. They give you a fairly large window of 5 hours to get that done. You just go in there, click on it, and you'll be able to do it. So that's the courtyard. So next, let's move over back to that's the town. Let's move back over to our courtyard. So within the courtyard, another thing that's actually really important to pay attention to is your summons menu. This is essentially your summoning circle. Here's where you can do any number of different summons. Your normals are going to be your standard normal scrolls where you can get your fodder to level up and help to evolve your monsters. Your mystery scrolls, which are just standard nothing scrolls, or those are standard scrolls for being able to summon anything from 3 to 5 star, or as this game calls them, R to SSR. And they kind of have an interesting way of doing it. So when you actually go to do it, I'll show you here as an example. You have a window, right, that you're able to draw a pattern on. So we're going to do a Triforce here because I'm a Legend of Zelda fan. It's a poopy one, so what? And then you can summon. You can do a voice one and things like that. It's a nice little touch on it. You know, if you want to just draw a line or whatever, it doesn't matter. And then you get your monster here, and you can do things like share on social media and stuff like that. For your first share, you generally get a mystery amulet. They also have an Easter egg where every month you can draw a specific pattern. This specific month, it happens to be a straight line from here to here. Sometimes it takes a minute for it to recognize it correctly. You might have to do multiple summons. But at the end of the day, it's a cool little thing that you're able to do. Another thing that they do is when new SSRs come out, they give you an increased chance to summon them. So they actually will put in here that it's a 2.5 times increased chance to summon Susabi. Susabi, normally, the summon rates they actually publish them here, which is crazy, right? So a summon rate for a mystery amulet on an SSR is 1.2. So that works out to be, what? 2.4 plus a 3%. There's a 3% chance of summoning a Susabi. Anyone else would have a 1.2% chance. Excellent thing. Here is something that I specifically love about this game, though. This is the shrine. And in the shrine, you can take monsters that you don't want and trade them in for these tickets. These tickets can be used to buy specific things. You can buy a G6 soul, you can buy grade dharmas, which we'll talk about in a little while, skill dharmas, and sometimes, this is actually the first time I've seen this, you can actually buy a Shikigami. How you get them, and this is the great part, is you take unwanted Shikigamis. So let's see what we have here. Okay, I don't like any of this guy. I take him, and I can release him, and I get 15 tickets. The amount you get each time increases based on how many or how rare the Shikigami is. And you can see those numbers here. But one of the things, and I've not seen it come through yet, I've not looked into a lot of details, but basically, you're going to be able to take your SSRs that you don't want, trade them in for these gold talismans. You will get 10 gold talismans, and later on, at some point, for 20 gold talisman or 2 SSRs, you can summon a random SSR. Think about that. You can take 2, you get duplicate SSRs, you throw them into this thing, and you can summon a random. A random guaranteed SSR. The thought that I could take 2 of my unwanted Nat 5s and push them away and get a Transcendence scroll from it. Could you even imagine Comtua's doing something like that? So yes, this is a fantastic change that a lot of us from Summoners War had been asking for a long time, and they've done it. So this is a very good thing in my opinion. Take that for what it's worth. Okay, and then one of the final things before we get to story stuff is you can actually access all of your menu stuff from here, and it's actually really important that you get to know this menu well. Your Shikigami menu is going to be where you actually interact with all your Shikigamis and where you can summon the shards once you have enough shards for summoning. It is where you can mess around with any souls that you have on a monster, right? So you go in here and you can actually do sorting and stuff like that, and we'll go over that in a little bit. Your Onmyoji, and we'll cover that. Any sort of friend interactions, messages, private messages, things like that, you go through there. The quests similar to your quest system. The mall is it's a little more intense than what they did for shopping in Summoners War, in that it has more of a graphic skin to it. But at the end of the day, it's still the same thing. You still have a rune shop, you still have skins, which by the way, you can actually buy skins in this game. You still have amulet packs and all kinds of stuff that you can, real life or real money currency you can dump in, all that stuff. It's all here. It's all here exactly as you would expect. And then guild we will go into specifically in a little bit, because that one is its own section. Team is where you can launch anything in the game from that you could team up with people for. And then collection is just, you can see what you actually have, and there's things you can unlock. By going like area collection here, you actually get these little treasure chests where once you get, any of these 3 once you get all 3 of those monsters, you get stuff. So if I can get these 2 monsters, for instance, I will get a skill dharma and coins, which is hard because both of those are SSRs. Okay, so that's the courtyard. And the final thing to pay attention to is for story stuff. Anytime you want to launch whatever is next in the story, which, by the way, stories function as their own cutscenes. They're going to have their own story. You're going to go through, have dialogue, real, actual story. It's not the best story. It's not going to, rock your world or anything, but it's significantly improved from anything Summoners War ever offered. And you just click on this and it starts as you go into a cutscene and they start doing all the talks. You have minor fights here and there, but for the most part, it's all about the dialogue and progressing the story as far as what's happening. So I'm slotting this in right now because I actually completely forgot to mention it during the exploration, and that's my fault. What I meant to point out was that there is a section over here where you will see, it actually will be different for you when you first start the game. You'll actually see a little fox guy who looks like this, and at the time he'll have a tutorial set of quests. After you're done with those tutorial set of quests, though, you have the bounty quests, and these are really important to try to do every day. they give you shards for different monsters. In addition to that, and this is particularly good timing, I can get a shard for my monsters. So here is this shard right here. This is actually a chance to get an SSR shard. So essentially, shards to summon a 5-star monster. And I can do that just by doing these quests, right? So I have to kill 8 green ebs for this one, 10 Yamamuros for this, 12 Nurakambes, 13 Umibozus. All for those. So I can just get those out of the way by doing that, right? So that's something to pay attention to, and I suggest keeping an eye on it. The next thing is its own section. I didn't mention it because we had a thing going on here where, if you might have seen this explore section, it is its own separate deal from the courtyard. It is essentially, once you've done something in the story, an actual grindable area similar to that in the map setup that Summoner's War has, where you can go in and you can actually fight stuff. Now, as far as the chapters go, you do have to go into the explore menu in order to get to these, and from there you can decide what you want to fight. If you're doing it in normal, you can only go in on your own. If you go in hard, you can actually team up with a friend. And then you have challenges, which allow you to fight a specific Shikigami with a large numbers and get shards from it, and it has a chance to open up a shard zone, which is similar to a mystery dungeon in Summoner's War. And that's important. Your friends, when they open those up, you can find them here at the shard zone. Kamiichi is actually super important. I highly suggest making sure you do it. Yellow Imp, doesn't matter. That's fodder. Don't worry about that. From there, you can find some of your most important things in here. Okay, so this is where we get into the meat of the game. This is where you're going to spend most of your grinding time being able to progress around the game. First off, we have Evo Materials. Evo Materials are just, they're the elemental dungeons. They're the Hall of Winds, the Hall of Fires, things like that. Right? The awakening materials, except in this case, they call them Evo materials or evolution materials. And each of these has a stage that you can do all the way up to 10, exactly like Summoner's War. And you have a chance to get materials and all kinds of stuff. One of the nice things I found here is that it costs 6 AP, this game's version of energy, in order to get this. But here is the big deal, is that you can actually team up, and instead of actually paying 6, you pay 4. In addition to that, you get bonus stuff. And so you actually can work with people. Here, let me just pick one here. Okay, so here's a win stage 6, right? So I'm going to team up with this person. We're going to go in. She's the one that's running it. So she's going to start it whenever she's ready. The reason why some people do hosting versus not hosting, or why you might want to avoid hosting, is your level, your Onmyoji level goes up whenever you're the one hosting, not when you don't. And this person is not paying attention, and I have no interest in dealing with whatever they want to do. Here we go. We'll try this one. Okay, so as you can see, you have 3 monsters. If it's 2 people, you have 3 that your Shikigami that you're putting out. They have 2 plus their Onmyoji. Your Onmyoji is a summoner who joins the battle with you. I think everything looks good there. Okay, so as you can see, you can do auto in the corner, and you can do times 1 or times 2 speed, or you can do manual. For the most part, people don't like you doing manual in these dungeons. It's the idea is that everyone should be left to auto, same as you would expect for giants, dragons, necro, except now you have another person in there, so you know you got to kind of try to meet their expected standards. Generally, whatever the fastest is what you want to go for. And then you get a bunch of goodies here that you're allowed to pick up. And sometimes it changes, right? Sometimes it's, you know, a couple, like you saw there. Other times you get like 8 different evolution materials. Okay, so evolution materials is there. Souls. Souls is your big one. This is your Kairos dungeon. Kairos dungeon is going to be Orochi is going to be your equivalent of Karos Dungeon. Sugenbi is a special deal where you get scrolls to go and attack them. That's these up here. And they drop whatever Orochi's dropping that day, plus these special ones. They're generally more PvP related is what I've been seeing these for. And so they're kind of expected to be kind of in-game stuff that people are shooting for. When you go in here, you have the same exact layout as you would. And as a matter of fact, you can access the entire menu from the team section in your Courtyard. But this is the, the slow way, the graphical way to get to souls. And the souls are runes, essentially. In the same exact way that works with Karos is how it would work here. You go through, you run with people. You can run with people, you cannot. You pay a little bit more if you do it on your own. But at the end, you get some souls to be able to actually use. Then we have Realm Raids. Realm Raids are the equivalent of Arena. You get a card that's 9 people. You go through, you try to beat the entire thing. If you can, they have markers, so if you can beat 3, 6, and 9, you get stuff every time. The nice thing about this game is that you actually don't lose ranking for losing. So you should go in, and if you fail to beat someone, right, and it looks like you might have possibly done it if RNG had gone your favor, go in again. Keep going in until you get it. Because there's no downside to that. You only lose ranking when people defeat you. And interestingly, I don't see a lot of people using a farming defense. I happen to. Like, if you look, I fail constantly. I don't know how this person lost. Actually, let's watch. Oh, you know what? The fact that it's scratching out like that makes me think that he must have disconnected or something. Because normally... This is failing. Okay, here we go. Normally, you can actually see what happened in the fight. You can go back and look and see how your defense did. It's amazing. Like, look at this. You can actually get to see what your defense did. How long did we request this from Summoner's War? How long? But this is here just as easy as can be. It's amazing. I absolutely love it. So while we're here, I also want to talk a little bit about guild raids. Oh, and by the way, one real quick thing. The way that you do more battles is these Realm Raid tickets. You get Realm Raid tickets from everything. So it's not like Wings where it refreshes based on a time scale. It's based on how much you're playing. If you're playing a lot, you're going to get a lot of Realm Raid tickets, so you're going to be expected to do a bunch of Realm Raid. I highly suggest it. It's totally worth it. But if you don't want to do it, don't do it. I understand. So, guild raids are done like this, where the entire guild is up in one shot, and you go through, you have 6 attacks, but it refreshes, and you can go through and attack more if you'd like. You can also attack as a team once every 5 minutes, so you can do co-op on these teams, and you can go at them. So we'll just jump in here and do a quick one. And you can actually buy things to increase what your realm does, right? Other thing I really like in combat is that you can actually see the turn order. So I see here that this Yama, essentially this game's version of Bernard, is going to cut right here. And I don't want that to happen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that Yama dies before the end of my Abume's turn. And don't worry about if you don't understand the combat yet. I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. I had the wrong team going into this. It's fine, though. Now, I have to get vengeance. I have my team built so that there's a different Onmyoji you can use named Kagura, who has a specific ability that I like to use in PvP because I can give my damage dealers another turn. Okay, there we go. Alright, see if we can take out the vampire. That's a standard counterattack unit. There we go. Much different. Okay. So that was essentially combat and how it works, and you know, you're used to it. It works the same way as an arena PvP. That said, there's some gimmicks to how combat works in this game, and I believe now is probably the best time to actually talk about it. Let me actually just find a general place to fight. That's fine. Just whatever story stuff. So let's go in here. Oh, hey, there's some stuff I'm actually supposed to kill here. Okay, so here's the things that you should pay attention to when you're in these fights. You have some number of monsters that you're allowed to have in combat, just as normal, as in Summoner's War, right? And we'll do a real team here instead of farming. This is essentially how farming is what this team is. Okay, there's that, and we'll use him. Sure, why not? Okay. So I'm in manual right now. Here's the thing you need to pay attention to. These are orbs at the bottom that fuel your attacks. If you want to, you can use a Shikigami's most powerful attack every single turn. So picture collapse for Rakan, right? You could collapse every single turn if you want, but you have to have the orbs for it. And orbs are a shared resource amongst the entire team. So you have to find a way to make sure that units are getting what they need at all times. I happen to be using this unit over here, commonly called, her name is Ashiki, but you can change names of monsters in this game. And what I've done here is I've built her out to where she can be an absolute battery. She is the most common unit you're going to see in this game. Everyone uses her. Highly suggest you take a look at it as soon as you get in the game. But she is allowed to, she's pumped me full of orbs, so I can now do all of my different attacks if I want. I'm going to increase the attack of my guys here. This is your Onmyoji in the back. Your Onmyoji is a separate unit from your Shikigami. It's essentially your summoner, but he's actually in battle now, and none of his stuff costs orbs. They have cooldowns just like a monster would in Summoner's War. And then if you look, this cost me 3 orbs, so I'm going to use it. It's going to light up my orb spaces and show the 3 that are going to come off. I'm going to pick my unit, and it's going to execute the attack. Great. Then I'm going to use 3 more. Now, had this thing still been alive afterwards, I would be able to then keep going. But if I had no more orbs, like let's say for some reason that Adora Sparkle here, who has a more proper name, but Adora Sparkle is what I name her. If she had a second turn after this, would not be able to use the Savage combo again, because there's only going to be 2 orbs left. You get more orbs once you've taken this number of turns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 turns, I would get 3 more orbs. But this girl over here would be providing me with more. So essentially in this game, you need to make sure you can get a battery for your team. And that's what makes the Shiki so good. So I won the fight. Everyone is going to get experience. And if you notice, there was a couple guys who were over to the side. That's your sideboard. They get half experience. But think about it like this. What if you were able to take your Rainbow Mon and put them over on the side in any fight when you're going through like Famine, and they got half the experience? It'd be amazing, right? It's free experience. It's experience share from Pokemon, essentially. So yeah, this is what any of these scenario situations look like. You go through, and there's bonuses on any one of these monsters. These bonuses help what you're going to get. So in this case, if I was to attack this guy, I would get double XP. This one would give me double coins. This one would give me additional items, things like Realm Raid tickets or additional souls, things like that. And if you can do enough of them, you actually get to face a boss. When you face a boss, you get additional goodies, and that has a chance to unlock demon seals, which allow you to fight a demon, a Shikigami dungeon area, and get additional shards like we talked about before. Also allows you to unlock the Kraken. And the Kraken is a large, it's a Kraken attacking a boat that if you attack it and you kill it, you can you get a bunch of extra rewards, like a whole bunch of experience, gold, and souls. Always very well worth checking out. All right, so I'm going to quit out of there. So this is where you can do everything from, like we were talking about, anytime you're not quite sure what you have available to you, jumping into the Explorer window is a perfect way to kind of get an idea of what you're able to do. Okay, so once you're in the game, you should join a guild right away. The reason you should join a guild right away is it allows you to create a realm. Realms are very important in this game. There's a couple things that are important to pay attention to. One is the promote tab. This is going to be your main thing. These are equivalent to trying to have an island where you actually, the experience islands, where you could leave someone alone and they gather experience. The trick within this, though, is that you actually don't actively acquire experience or passively acquire experience. You actively acquire it. The way you actively acquire it is through realm cards and saving up experience, which we'll talk about in a second. But once you activate those things, it applies some amount of experience to these guys until they're at cap. Additionally, there's Entrust, and this is where you can go to someone else's camp, right? So what do we have? We have 12,000. I want to do this one. It's 1440 or 14,400, and you get some shards. Why not? Oh, nope, someone's already at it. What do we got here? And you're going to find that a lot. For whatever reason, the menu doesn't refresh well the first time you go in, so you'll frequently find people who have, you'll find like a great realm card, and so you'll jump in there, and someone already has it. We'll see if this one's already taken, because this is also another great one to have. All right, great. What do we want to jump in here? Here we go. We'll do this guy. Yeah, there we go. All right, so he's going to collect stuff for some set amount of time. I believe it's 4 hours, 6 hours. And when he comes back, he's going to have a whole bunch of experience that he got. And because it's a special kind of realm card, I'm going to get an additional thing. In this case, it's Jade, which is this game's equivalent of crystals. The next thing to pay attention to is, as we were just talking about, realm cards. So you are going throughout your time going to get realm cards. There's all kinds of different things that I could explain for this as to what actually realm cards are and how you level them up and how you fuse them. There's a whole set of stuff. Just for starting out, for basic information, this is how you power your experiences. So any realm cards you get, the higher the grade, the better they are. You can drop them in here. You can fuse them together if you want. But once you drop them in here, they're in there for permanent. They're in there permanently, and you can then start clicking on that experience tab, and it gives your Shikigami experience. So in this case, one of them just maxed out, so I'm going to take him out. I'm going to put another guy in here. Here we go. All right, and there we go. Now we have another guy going, right? And then this is what the previous guy collected for me, which it was another one of those lightning drums. So I got 6 shards here. And what do we get? Okay, we got some good stuff. We got 3 Kameiichi shards, which is always good. Your realm defense, which is the same as your arena defense, can be set here. As I said, I just run my own Onmyoji because I don't really care. I want people to defeat me so I can continue, moving on in the numbers. Although, realistically, as I'm finding out, and I don't know why, your realm defense, your ranking, does not actually apply to the type of people you fight. It's based on your level. It's a random selection of your level and how well you did on the previous card. Okay, whatever, sure. I don't like it, but it's fine. It's how it works. All right, so the final thing in the realm that we need to pay attention to is the AP Bento Box and the experience Saki. All right, so this is a really cool function of the game. In Summoner's War, when you have a max level monster and you're going through and doing Karos Dungeon, any of that negligible experience is lost. However, in this game, you can actually take it and siphon it over to these realm storage materials. So for the Saki, right, you actually are putting in, actually I think it's just an experience pot. I think I saw it called Saki at one point, but whatever, it's an experience pot. you take your excess experience that you gained and you put it in here. Now, here's the deal. You can level it up using medals from arena raids, realm raids, and you can make the efficiency better. So like right now, if I was to get 10 experience extra, 50% of it would go into that experience pot up to a limit of 60,000. If I was to increase this again, however, I would then go up to a 55% efficiency rate and 70,000 being the maximum. If you are active and play the game a lot, you'll want to level this one up first. So I would then click the withdraw button, and whatever I have extra then immediately gets put into these guys who are sitting in promote. Same thing with realm card. I believe I didn't remember to say that, but same thing with realm card. Whenever you click that, it goes right into them. The AP bento box, this is really nice for the people who don't play a lot. When you're at cap, so like right now I'm at cap. I'm at 252 out of 100, which is going to happen to you unfortunately a lot because every once in a while this game just dumps a bunch of AP on you at once. When you're in there, you actually have, or when you're at cap, you're actually gaining it in here, right? So for every 10 that I would have gotten, every 10 AP I would have gotten, I'm currently getting 3 AP put in here. And I can store up to 100, and at that time I can go back in and I can collect them by using a little slider, and I can gather however many I want at a time. So if you're someone who doesn't play as often or as frequently, it's really nice to level up the AP bento box. And that's a really nice touch. I like it. We are now past the point where we know where everything is in the game. It took a long time to get through all of that, but it's important that you understand where all the tools are that are available to you. So at this point, we can start moving pretty quickly through the main comparisons between different aspects of the game that aren't just places. And the first place we're going to start is with your Shikigami and Onmyoji. Let's start with your Onmyoji because that's probably the thing that you're going to take the most time getting used to. The Onmyoji is the equivalent of your summoner. Your summoner that is actually going to be in the battle. In that case, there are actual stats for your Onmyoji. Your Onmyoji also has his own skills. So when you're going through, you can actually choose skills and choose specifically which ones you want to use. In addition to that, you can level up stats by leveling the totem. In order to level the totem, you're going to take excess souls that you have and feed them to that in the enhanced section, where you go through and you select them. This one's already at max, but essentially you'd go through. I'll switch here to Kagura. So Kagura, I'm going to go through. I'm going to select a couple of souls here, and then I feed them. And they get that much experience right there. Cool. Very simple. Okay. The other thing you can do is get skins, and there's a bio and everything if you want to be able to look at all that if you want. But basic idea of the game. You have four different Onmyojis. You can go through, level all of their totems. Their totems all level separately. They all have their own skills. They all function differently. Shikigami are your monsters. So this is the gotcha part of the game, right? Where you are trying to summon to get the best monsters in the game. You have your SSRs, which are 5-star, your SRs, which are 4-star, Rs, which are 3 stars, and which are 2 stars. There's no 1 star. There's material, which is kind of 1 star, but those are their own. They function separately. They work differently. So for all intents and purposes, we should focus on INs, Rs, SRs, SSRs, where we're talking about units that are used in fights. Specifically, R, SR, SSR. In is just fodder for the most part. Some people argue that some of them are good, but it shouldn't be too hard to get some Rs that are worth using more than them. When you're going through here and finding what you want to use, you can take a look at their skills in the details menu. You can equip souls here, and the nice thing is with souls, they can be equipped, unequipped whenever you want. There's no cost to take them off or add them on. Your skins can be changed out. You have to evolve them first. Once you evolve them, you can change the skin, and you can read their bio, which once you unlock the full bio is what allows you to use them in your courtyard instead of the fox. You can also rename them here by clicking on the title of the name and then typing in a new one. And then from there, it's important that we talk about this material section. All right. Daramas they're a weird thing to get used to, but they're this game's Rainbow Mon. It's really important that you pay attention to what white Dharmas are, because this is something that's weird to get used to. White Dharmas are monsters that you want to level up. They're Shikigami that you want to level up. They require half the amount of experience to level, which means that these are the ones you want to take all the way up to G5 and G4 and G5 in order to evolve stuff. And you evolve stuff in this game the same way you do in Summoner's War, where a G5 monster, or 5-star in that case, requires 5, any level G5 Shikigami to be fed to it to promote it. So let's take a look at how that works, right? So we have a 2-star white Dharma, which can be promoted right now and have it upgrade. So they call it level up and upgrade. So I take 2 Shikigami, right? These are just normal Shikigami. They're fodder. I feed it to it, and it becomes G3 or 3-star. Same concept. And then from there, he can continue leveling. Now, here's a really nice thing. If you notice, he's still at 20. In this game, you don't reset to 1. You just hit a cap, and then when you promote, you take away that cap into the next one. And so going from G2 to G3 unlocks 20 to 25, G3 to G4, 25 to 30, and so on and so forth, all the way up to 40. G rankings, like I've been mentioning, are the exact same as the star rankings, right? A G2 is a 2-star, a G3 is a 3-star, so on and so forth, all the way up until G6. Skill ups function also exactly like Summoner's War, in that you can use a skill Dharma, which is a black version of these guys. You'll see them once in a while. And those guys you can feed directly to a monster. It gives them a skill. Or you can take any monster and see. Let me see if I have any here. I have an Onmyoji. I can do that one. Okay. So here you'll be able to see that Onmyoji has 1 skill to get there and is full there. I don't know what the heck is happening here. That's a weird glitch in the game, I guess. And none to get there. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to promote by feeding her 1 Onmyoji copy. And it'll put your copies first and foremost in the line. You click on it, it gets added to up to 8 you can do at a time. You click confirm, and it's going to increase her experience, and it's going to show you what skill up she got. Alright, so there's that. Now, Evos are done in the same way as Summoner's War, where you have to get some number of materials, and once you have those, you can evolve, and they become a new monster. In this case, she becomes a different version of herself. Let me see if there's one I want to evolve right now. That would make this more easy to understand. Let me see. Kamiichi. Do I have the stuff for you? I do! You're getting an upgrade, buddy. Actually, let me see where you're at. You are not getting an upgrade yet. I'm trying to make sure I max out this skill 4 or this skill 2 first. Abisu, where are you at, buddy? You are similarly also breaking my balls. Okay, all right, fine. We'll go with one of these guys. I didn't want to do it this way, but it's just gonna have to happen. Here we go. Let's do Samurai X. He's a pretty cool dude. So he's going to get a skill improvement. He's going to have a change in his looks. And evolve. His stats change. It shows you what the stat changes are. And then it shows you the skill improvement here, what actually changes. And if you liked his previous look, you can move him back to that skin. Your call. Whatever you like. Speaking of skins, by the way, you can actually go into the mall and there are skins you can buy. So here is Ashiki. This is her original look, her unawakened look, her pre-Evo look. Here's her Evo look. And here's the one you can buy from the store. And you can just change through here. You do have to evolve them before you can actually change out the skin. That's just a side note. Okay, souls. Souls are interesting in this game. Souls are runes. They are runes straight up. And a lot of the same rules that you're used to still apply. 2, 4, 6 are your big important slots. Leveling them becomes interesting. In order to level one, you actually have a set price of what it takes to go from 1 to 15. There is no fooling around on that. It's going to be the same price every time. I've not done the math and I've not looked it up, but essentially you're paying 2 gold for every 1 experience, I believe, if I remember correctly. Let me go through here and find one that I want to level up. Fortune Cat. Nope. Fortune Cat. I want one with speed on it. There we go. I want to use this one. It's a poopy one, but whatever. Okay, so when I'm looking to improve the speed, or looking to level it up, I'm going to add this in. So here we go. 2,000 gold gets me 1,000 experience. It's a 2-to-1 thing. And then I just click, I add in however many I want to actually evolve, however I want to add until, and it tells me what it gets up to. Now here's an interesting thing, and we'll see if it does it on this. But when you evolve, as you can see, there are 3 substats. Sometimes, and we'll see if it happens in this case, it actually does it. Yep, it did just right here. If you have 3 substats, it does not fill out like it does in Summoner's War. It is going to go to any one of the 4 substats. Period. Even if the 4th, 3rd, or 2nd substat is not showing. It might go to those before it goes to the 1st, which can make upgrading souls frustrating. But I do have a little bit of good news. Let's say that I was not a fan of what I did here. I don't like this rune now. I don't want to keep it. I can take this rune, this soul, and feed it to another soul, and I will get most of the experience recouped. I think it's like a 70, 80-ish% thing. Not all of it, but I will get most. And so in that way, you don't end up wasting a ton of your time. So there's that. That's how they actually level. From there, fodder can be used a couple different ways. You've seen a couple of them already. One is feeding your totems for your Onmyoji. One is leveling up these. Another way you can use it, actually, is releasing them. Now, releasing is a way to get cheap and easy gold, though I might suggest not going through that method too easily. But it might be worth noting that if you were to release a 6-star one, let me see if I can find a poopy one here. Let's see. Not completely wanting to get rid of that one yet. Okay. Man, that's still a decent one. I mean, decent-ish. We'll call it decent-ish. Attack, defense bonus, crit. Yeah, you know what? This one actually isn't very good. That's a G5 though. Screw it. We'll try. We'll see if it works. So you can release G5 or G6 ones. G5 are only a partial chance. And there's a chance. Yep, I got it. Okay, cool. That you get an Orochi's reverse scale. Orochi's reverse scales are used to exchange to get a very specific rune in a specific slot. Now the important thing is that you don't get a guaranteed stat, but one of the big damages dealers in here. Oh, I don't have 50, so it's not even gonna show me. Oh yeah, here we go. Okay, so one of the big damage dealing soul sets is Seductress. I could go over to Seductress, slot 6, and try to get a crit damage or a crit rune, soul, specifically that's G6. It's a fantastic way to get some runes, souls, in the exact slot that you need them in the exact set. Basically, imagine if every couple of days you could guaranteed get a violent slot 2 rune, right? You would be able to get the speed runes that you want to get eventually. Wouldn't be, great, but it'd be eventually you could do it. And so that's a pretty interesting thing that you're able to do there. As far as the one other thing, as far as sorting goes, you're allowed to have up to 6,000 souls in this game. You're going to need to feed stuff. So what you need to do is you need to find a method that works for you. In my case, the first thing I start off with is I go G1, G2, G3. Every single soul I have that's G1 and G3, with the exception of this one, which I have locked. I want to feed every one of those. So I click all, it selects them, I click to feed. So now when I go into feeding, I can actually just go, and whenever I go to release something, right, it's automatically going to default to the feed tab. I can then just go through and click all of these and just feed them all if I wanted to. Okay, finally, we are into the last few bits here. I want to talk a little bit about guilds, because guilds are actually really important in this game. You're going to have to, I highly suggest joining one, even if it's just to have access to your realm, because by the way, you don't get access to a realm if you're not in a guild, but it is how you're going to do a lot of your PvP functions around it, right? And a lot of the medals and stuff that your guild gets allows them to give you benefits for doing that PvP. We'll talk about that in a second, but a lot of your PvP that you've seen so far is done there. Your world boss is done in there. Wishes are done every day where you can request specific shards, right? So I go in, I make a wish, I specifically select a monster I want, and people can donate shards to me, and you can reward them back. But like, here's the ones I've donated, right? Then, and this is where you can see ranking stuff, right? So pretty cool. Some interesting stuff there. Shrine. So Shrine is where you can do guild quests, right? So I can do these. A company's the easiest one, where you just run missions with people, and then once you turn those in, you can do up to 30 a day. You get bonuses that you can buy. So I can buy any one of these things I want. As your guild levels up, you get bonus things that you can get. In order for your guild to level up, people have to do group quests, and that contributes to an experience bar here. So it is very important for guilds to work together. Quests, we talked about those. Leveling, we just talked about that. Okay, so guild boosts and gifts. So your guild leaders can buy things for people. Some of this stuff is really important, including zone bonuses, where you get additional souls and Evo materials. Random guild packs, which just give you tons of extra stuff. This is how you kind of do a dump of all your extra medals. Experience bonuses, coin bonuses, wish bonuses, which I don't... What does that one actually do? Extra medals when they donate Shikigami shards. Okay, fair enough. You get all kinds of stuff in there. You get realm raid damages, realm raid stat buffs, crazy stuff. You can get all kinds of stuff in there. Okay. So those are guilds. I highly suggest you take a look into them, because they are very important for the game, and you're going to need to be a part of them if you want to be able to do a lot of your stuff. And then finally, for PvP, I think we've pretty well covered it. You're going to have realm raids, you have guild raids, duels, and co-op duels are going to be just about everything. The only just quick errata I want to make to this that I don't believe I've actually mentioned yet is bonuses. And this is one of the coolest things I've seen. Bonuses can be paused and played at your discretion. So if I'm going in and I want to get a bunch of extra Evo materials, I can go in, find a good group, hit play on that, and I'm now getting bonus materials whenever I go in and do Evo, including experience. Think of all the times where you started a 12-hour XP booster and you're like, oh, I'm 3 hours in and I don't want to do this anymore. Here, you don't have to do it anymore. You can pause and then come back to it at a different point. It's very important, and I think that it's probably one of the best features for this game that kind of is a nice quality of life thing. Beyond that, though, I think I've covered just about everything that I can cover in order to get you ready to switch over from Summoner's War to Onmyoji, or even just dive into Onmyoji if you're wanting to take a look. I want to thank everyone for stopping by. I'm going to be starting to produce more material around Onmyoji as I've started switching over to this game full time. I absolutely love it, and we'll talk about more in-depth things as far as, you know, like for instance the realm cards. We'll talk about exactly how that works with realm cards. But I hope everyone appreciated this. If you have any ideas of things that I should cover that I might have missed here, please put them in the comments down below. If you like this, if you didn't like it, give me a like, give me a dislike, whatever. I just like to know how I'm doing, and I appreciate everyone for stopping by. Thanks. Have a great day.